Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Jovium, as I told in the first video. Right? So today I'm just gonna be doing a little bit of an overview of what I'll be going over for like the first 6 months of this channel. Alright. So this video should be broken down like in 2 or 3 sections. So the first thing I want to go over with you guys is, of course, is what is game dev? So let's see, what is this? So game dev, in simple terms, is just the study or the process in which game is made. In which a game is made. Yeah. This can either be virtual or physical. Take for example, as a physical could be Monopoly, while virtual could be something like Elden Ring, Mob. Basically, you can play your phone or any devices. A board game, physical would be more like, think of it like D&D, Monopoly, D&D. Anything you can touch with your hands, pretty much. Physical is a game that's just on a computer. And game dev that just pretty much started making games. Of course, game dev has multiple parts. Take, for example, the components of game dev. Or, for example, the mechanics, which are pretty important. Because this is basically like the organ system. Take, for example, without this, you cannot have a game. These are the most important parts about game dev. Take, for example, things like running, grappling, or jumping. These are all core parts of what game mechanics can do for a game. That's what the most important. Of course, these are things like storytelling, which will be like, for example, the start of the game, like the, take for example, plotline, like your exposition, your rise in action, and then you have the climax, which already goes hand in hand with the problem, and then you got like your falling action, and then you know how the conclusion goes, things like that. Now, for a third part of game dev is that you also have to think things like monetization. Is one of the hardest parts of all, because you need to know like in which medium you want to push your game, try to build an audience. This is the main part, which is why I created a channel. And this will be like, for example, making devlog, which I'm trying to do for this thing. Devlog, either technical or just entertaining, like the ones from Danny. So excuse the bad handwriting, but it's usually how I write. So don't question. Please don't. That's pretty much game dev, after mechanics, storytelling, and this. Of course, don't forget about the game engine, which is going to be the tool that facilitates it. The game engine, which is just a tool that facilitates game dev. Of course, famous example of a game engine is, of course, Godot. The main three, which are Godot, Unity, oh god, Unreal. So, of course, each one has their own thing. For example, okay, so this is intended to the main three. Godot is typically the easiest in the terms of memory and the scripting language. Oh no. Alright, fix. Scripting language. And I think that's pretty much it for him. Because, for example, Godot only takes like, for example, like less than 1 gigabyte to download. Unity, it's a little bit more, requires a little more memory, so like 5 gigabytes, or depending on the version. The scripting language is harder, especially with things like C Sharp, because this one uses GDScript, which is very similar to Python, but of course simplified for game dev. Unreal. Now this one takes a lot of memory, has a harder scripting language, which is a programming language, which is basically C++. It's harder to learn. And I think in terms of tutorials, you probably have to pay a lot for them. Tutorials are harder and typically require you to pay. Typically require pay. However, in Godot and Unity, you would notice that, for example, for this one, you have more tutorials and it's typically more popular. This one does a very good tutorial as well. That's pretty much it. The tutorials. Oh god, the writing's horrible. Alright. That's pretty much all you need to guys need to learn from game dev. So let me just go up and explain to you guys. So a recap what game dev is. It's just a study or the process in which a game is made. That depends for either physical or virtual games. Examples can include Monopoly, D&D, and for the virtual could be games like Elden Ring, Death Stranding 2. Pretty much any game that you can play on a phone or a computer. Of course, for the components of what you need for a game to be successful is, of course, the game mechanics. Take, for example, in a card game like Yu-Gi-Oh!, the rules start in the game. This would count as mechanics. Also, most games have storytelling. Take, for example, Elden Ring, with this whole entire story about like the Elden Ring, how each character contributes to it. That's also important. However, you shouldn't really prioritize that when actually in game dev. Prioritize more things like mechanics, because if you have very good mechanics, they will want to play your game. So in sense of things, I would say this one is the most important thing to master, which is what I want to teach you for this channel. Of course, the second part, which I kind of messed up, should be monetization, because if you actually want to turn this into a career, you need to find a way to actually make money from it. And of course, least important, so the third part will be the game engine. This one depends a lot on how much you want to go with. Typically, I would really recommend Unity, because although it's not the easiest to learn, it has most of the functions. Because Godot, it's still developing, and you can find tutorials. However, you don't find them as many as Unity, which is why I want to teach Unity. Right. This should pretty much cover the first section. Hope you kind of understand it. Okay, let's go with game engines. So, like I mentioned, Godot, Unity, and Unreal. Godot typically requires 60 memory to be downloaded. However, it doesn't have as many features when it comes to publishing a game. Unity pretty much is everything you probably need. Unreal has very good graphics. However, if you want to publish to the general audience, you probably have to optimize it a lot, which is why I want to go with Unity, because that's pretty much everything I need. And I think I can teach it to you guys which one I'm going to go with that one. All right, I'm just going to make a new thing here. Let's save for now. All right. Now I'm going to go over what a game engine is. And basically, I'm just going to give Unity overview. Oh, of course you can write if that's... So Unity / game engine. Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. Don't. So as mentioned before, a game engine is a tool. Think of it as a tool. Don't worry too much about it. It's just a tool to make games. Of course, you could also make your own game engine. But that would take a long time. All right. Now Unity. Correct me in the history of this. If I'm not mistaken, Unity was made back in 2005, like, or early 2000s. Early 2000s. It has a good graphical interface, which is basically the interface when you start on the Unity game engine. It's scripting language, which is also programming language, developed by Microsoft. C#. Keep in mind that a scripting language can also be a programming language, but that one is usually okay. I'm not going to explain what scripting language. So a scripting language, in basic sense, it's a programming language that allows you to modify game objects in the game engine. Allows modification of objects in the game. And of course, the game object will be things like characters. Be like the characters or items in the game. And now, overview what I'll be teaching for now for 6 months will be, for example, game mechanics. Game mechanic, C#, which would be the scripting language. Shortcuts to navigate the game engine easier. And so for game mechanics, scripting language, I'll also be teaching you how to export the game. Now, I will tell you one thing. For C#, another way I might teach you when I don't have enough time is that I might be teaching, or I might be playing Terraria. To be more specific, it will be more of Tmod Loader. Why? Because Tmod Loader makes mods on C#. So if I ever want to teach a syntax, perhaps it'll be a good idea to teach it, just so you get an idea of how the syntax for C# works. If you guys want to do that. If you guys are okay with it, of course. So we already gone over what game development is, what a game engine is. I believe for an overview that should be good enough. Of course, I don't want to put too much information. The next video is going to put you, like, for example, how to install the game engine. Install the game engine. Oh, and the versions, of course. The versions that, for example, I'll be using will be, for example, 6.4 or above. So that means that I will mainly be using the new input system. The new input system. That's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed the overview. I hope this was better explained in the first video when I did the introduction. But if you weren't able to understand it, honestly, all you need to understand is that I'm just a person that generally just want to teach you how game development feels like, and also at the same time for me to get better at it. And I believe that's pretty much good for the overview. Hope you guys have a nice day. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you guys. Bye bye.